I'll see a number of European countries that have literally replaced coal and are thinking about replacing nuclear with wind power.
To have wind power provide 100% of America's electricity would take several 100,000 turbines. Now, if you were to take all those towers and hypothetically put them all together into one space, that would be less than one single large coal strip mine in Wyoming.
We have enough harnessable wind energy in North Dakota, Montana, and Texas alone to power all the energy needs of our country.
I did a calculation a few years ago that if we had built wind turbines with the amount of money that we put into fighting the Iraqi war, that we would be getting more energy from wind power today than we ever got in oil from Iraq.
If you get 20% of our electric energy from wind, and it's going to create over 500,000 high-paying jobs for the economy, including many rural areas.
There are 80,000 parts in every wind turbine. This is big engineering. You can imagine like Boeing. Those are the jobs of the future. You can put Detroit back to work. Tell them, stop making SUVs, start making wind turbines. You can save the world and put your city back to work.
Enough solar energy falls on the surface of the planet in less than an hour to meet humankind's entire energy needs for a full year.
With only 7% of our existing urban area that's already developed, we can install solar photovoltaics to provide 100% of America's electricity requirements.
Having solar hasn't changed my life. I use the same amount of electricity. It makes me feel good, that's all. I feel good having solar power. It just sits there and makes electricity for me, and I can use as much as I want. And the stuff I don't use goes to other people.
So if you put a solar panel on the roof of your home, you ought to be able to sell that excess back to the grid and get market rates. And if you did that, all of a sudden, every American would be an energy entrepreneur, and every household would become a power plant. And think of what that does to our country. It makes every American richer.
The next part of the barrel should come from rethinking our vehicles.
The question to ask is, of the next billion cars we ship in the next 15 years on this planet, what technology can get into 500 million to 800 million of those cars to really make a difference?
Plug-in hybrid is a normal Prius that has an added battery pack and a plug. We can drive on electricity instead of gas. The sun can be down on solar panels, and the solar panels can be connected to the grid, and the grid can charge the car.
With a plug-in hybrid, you could reduce our petroleum use by 80%. And that's even if the plug-in hybrid ran on conventional fuel. And of course, if you run it on biodiesel or ethanol, then you essentially knock out petroleum use.
Israel's going to be off of gasoline within 3 years. You get 120 miles on a charge. They're very fast cars. If you're going to go more than 120 miles, you can pull into any gas station. They'll slide out the exhausted battery and slide in a fresh one. There's 30 other nations that are now lined up to install these systems. This is going to happen faster than anybody imagined.
What's better for the environment than a green car? No car.
My vote would be a radically different public transportation system in every major city in America.
There's no reason over the next 20 years that we couldn't revitalize our urban environments to make them bicycle, pedestrian, and transit friendly.
Our air would become more breathable. We'd have lower level of toxicity, so you'd have a much more effective city. Whenever we put in a rail line, overnight the rail line ridership increased by 60,000 in one day, and that gives people choices.
But even with all these things, maybe the answer is to find a way to just need less energy.
Something like 20 or 30% of our energy use goes into the residential sector, and that's just extraordinarily wasteful.
It doesn't matter whether you're an individual who lives in a big home or an individual who lives in an apartment or a condo. There are lots of things you can do to take that first step. And I promise, when you make that first step, you take another step. And you start off walking, but almost everybody starts running in the end because it's contagious. And you realize that you're doing great for the economy, great for yourself, your own pocketbook, but you're doing great for the Earth's resources and for the future generations that have to use them.
Conservation and efficiency is the cleanest, quickest, and cheapest way to ease our addiction to oil.
Gasoline will be free. We'll be question I get asked all the time, is it too late? What can I do? It's not solely about biodiesel. It's not solely all about the answers. It's about each person having a consciousness that the way we live affects the next person, and it affects our community, it affects our country, and ultimately affects the planet.
We can live a better life and not a more expensive life if all we do is care.
The message is about compassion. It doesn't matter if you're talking about it being compassionate to a person or being compassionate to the planet.
I think what's stopping a lot of people, or companies also, from doing this, as well as governments, is they're waiting for the masses to do it and they'll join in. But what they forget about is the masses is made up of individuals. And until the individuals make the change, you don't have the masses.
The future for the country is a new alliance where you have the best of business, the real new entrepreneurs with the new technologies, the best of labor that wants to be a part of rebuilding the economy, all standing together saying, listen, we are tired of the military petroleum complex running the country into the ground. We want a green future for this country. We want to create a green wave that can lift all boats. That's the future.